Morning, welcome to this Monday Minute. We're continuing our study through the book, The Life of the Believer, and we're in chapter 3. How can I live a life of victory? Paul the Apostle had a thorn in his flesh, and he prayed to God 3 times for God to remove it. And yet God answered him in the negative. I'm not going to remove it, Paul, but my grace is sufficient for you. Sometimes believers and people who live for God, and no one's perfect, but they're living a life surrendered to God, suffer bad things. And why do these things happen? I don't know the answer for every circumstance. Sometimes things happen because we just live in this world that's under the curse of sin. And so negative things happen to us because of the curse that's on this world. And we still live in bodies that are not resurrected. So they get sick and they die. Maybe other people, God has given them free will, and so they make choices that affect us negatively. But I look at the life of Job. I was reading on Job through my morning devotions, and I saw something I hadn't seen before. Job, in his first several discourses, it seems like he did not believe in the resurrection, that once this life is over, that's it. There is no future. But then in chapter 9, he says, these profound words: I know that my Redeemer lives, and that in the flesh, though this flesh may die, in my flesh I will see him again. And I looked at that great revelation that Job had. And then later in the book, near the end, Job says, before I had known about God, but now I have seen God. And you see through Job's great suffering and trial, and Job is asking God, why is God punishing him? And he's turning to God. He never accuses God or turns his back on God. His friends say that he's suffering because he is a sinful person. He says, no, I'm not a sinful person. I don't know why God is doing this to me. And he pleads to God, and he converses with God about the struggle that he's going through. And I think we need to do that because God is only source and only hope. But the scriptures say all things work together for the good of those that love God and are called according to his purpose. And so when bad things happen to us, no matter what the source may be, and regardless of whether or not God delivers us from that negative circumstance, we do know this, that God promises to work everything together for the good of those that are called and love the Lord. Um, Job had a great revelation. He was a man who was serving God, it seems like out of duty. He loved the Lord, but he was limited in his relationship with God. And through this suffering, he had a revelation that God is alive and that there is an eternity. And he was looking with the hope for eternity after this life on this earth is over with. And at the end, it says, where he says, now I have seen God, it shows that Job had gotten much closer to God and had a greater revelation of God. And then God restored Job's fortunes. He restored family, fortune, and all this. So we see through the suffering, God worked everything together for the good of Job. Most importantly, he worked Job's spiritual life together so that Job was closer to God. Job had a greater revelation of God. Job recognized that this world isn't all there is. And I think that as we go through the difficulties of life, we need to keep that same perspective. I know that my Redeemer lives, and though this flesh may decay, I will see him again one day in the flesh. So whether God answers our prayers this side of the grave or the other side of the grave, God will answer our prayers. But God will make sure that all things are working together for your good. You have a great day. God bless.